Hi, this is Carl, and this is another SOP video for managed service providers. Today I want to talk about picking a vertical, or two, or three. So there's a few things that bring this to mind. So first of all, right now, there's a lot of people saying, well, maybe picking a vertical is not a good idea because, what if your vertical was restaurants? Okay, I get that. But second, that's not an argument about not picking a vertical. It's an argument that you shouldn't pick just one vertical unless you are sure that it will never get shut down during a global pandemic. Most people watching this probably don't remember the pandemic what they called SARS, or the swine flu, or the pandemic of the 1968-1969 era. But here's the deal. In none of those pandemics did we shut down entire industries in response to it. So please don't learn the wrong lesson from what's going on today. Yes, stuff happens. Sometimes it can happen to you. If your vertical was airlines, you were going to have a serious hit, not only this time, but when there was the aftermath of 9/11. There's lots of things that happen to every industry from time to time. But that's not the point. The point is, in a vertical, you can be a specialist. Now, I recommend for very small IT businesses that you pick one or two or three verticals. The people who do the best pick one vertical, dig very, very deeply into it, and become absolute experts. And to be honest, they're not hurt when that industry goes down because they are at the top of the game. It's the people who dabble in the vertical that are hurt the worst because they say, we work with restaurants, but what they work with is 5 restaurants, not 500. And as a result, they lose a big chunk of their revenue because of some little group. If you have 3 verticals, you have the ability to have lots of flexibility and to continue having success if one of them has a downturn. And they all will have a downturn eventually. Now, another thing I want to talk about with verticals is that most people misunderstand in the small business space what it means to have a vertical. A vertical is going up this way. It has to do with an industry, and there are lots of different industries that have very small shops, larger shops, bigger shops, huge shops. So many people in the SMB space say, oh, my vertical is small business. Well, sorry, 1, 2, 3 person shops, that's a horizontal. That's not a vertical. 10-person shops, 20-person shops, those are horizontals. 500 and above, that's a horizontal. That has nothing to do with the industry. A vertical is something where you dig into the specifics of an industry. And I'll give you a couple of examples. One would be, for example, if you support accountants. Why does it matter? Well, they have their own language. They literally have a way that they talk to each other. Somebody mentioned on an email recently about it being their secret handshake, right? That's exactly what happens. It's not that there's a particular secret, but if you went to a barbecue with a bunch of accountants, you would need to speak exactly one sentence and they would know you're not an accountant. The same thing is true with dentists. That's another vertical. The same thing is true with every industry. They have their own language. Think about if somebody shows up, a dentist shows up at an IT conference and they start talking about IT. It's clear they have no idea what we do for a living. They don't speak our language. They don't understand our terminology. It's not that there's anything wrong with that. Every industry has its own way of talking. Every industry has its own challenges. Every industry has its own needs. Every industry goes through certain cycles. Once you begin to live in that world, you become an insider. Once you become an insider, it's much easier for you to relate to them. It's much easier for you to become the person that gets called. When people say, oh, I run this kind of a shop and I need this kind of software and I need somebody who can support that. Oh, there is one person you have to call, right? And so people call you because you are the expert. A good friend of mine likes to talk about being, all he does is support funeral services, right? And he says, well, that's not really a vertical, it's more of a horizontal. So that's his joke. But he bought a company that provides software to the funeral industry. And then he became the one and only person that anybody would call to support that software. Then he sold that company again, and as a result, he now only supports that industry, and he is literally known all over as being the person that you call. So that's a perfect example of choosing a very serious niche and living in that niche. So I recommend that you pick 1 or 2 or 3 verticals and just start by looking at who your clients are today. When we started choosing our verticals, we looked and said, oh, well, we got a handful of doctors and medical offices and 1 mental health service, so we had kind of this medical group. And then it turns out I had a lot of accountants and enrolled agents, right? And then unbeknownst to me, I sort of had on the side this group of people that were all around the real estate industry, people who ran sod farms and lumber mills and did marketing for real estate. And so that wasn't as clear of a vertical, but there was enough of a vertical there that I could talk to each of these clients about each other, and they understood that these were people who were in related businesses. So pick a few verticals. You don't have to be 100% in one or even 100% in 3, but you should have a focus that allows you to dig just a little bit deeper, provide a little more specific service that has a little more value to those people, and it will serve you very well in the long term. For Small Biz Thoughts, this is Carl Palachuk wishing you the best of luck in your managed service business. Please like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell so you can be notified when we post a new video.